Whether you're in North or South Carolina or anywhere else in the world, enter the Cat Cave with Michael Davis and Ryan Frick to listen to your favorite Carolina Panthers podcast. We're a part of the Keep Pounding Podcast Network and powered by the Fans First Sports Network. It is the Christmas season here, and we hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas as we get ready for the new year. Ryan, how are you doing? How was your Christmas?
It was good, man. Still trying to recover from this 2-month long cough that apparently there's a lot of people dealing with. But it was good. I got some quality time with the family, some quality time with some friends. The Detroit Lions won their first division title since I was 6 years old. That was before the Carolina Panthers existed. So, I got this new hoodie that I'm rocking over on Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. Yeah, it was good, man. Your typical Christmas food, friends, and family. How about yourself?
It was pretty good. It was kind of ruined by the Cowboys losing to the Dolphins. I did not get that prediction right on tap outs and touchdowns when I made a guest appearance last week. Banker Bill's probably happier than that, but you're getting some Lions gear, aren't you, for Christmas division title?
Yeah, I listen. Once every 30 years it happens, you got to go out and you got to rock the division title stuff. So, we don't know who's going to win the NFC South, but we do know who's won the NFC North, and it's the Detroit Lions led by Dan Campbell and company. So, yeah, it was. Listen, it wasn't just a Merry Christmas for Lion fans. I mean, the Raiders got a shocking win, a dominating win at that over the Chiefs. You had the 49ers dominated by the Ravens on Christmas night. So some very unhappy home fans on Christmas night and the NFL. But the like you said, Banker Bill over on tap outs and touchdowns. He got his Christmas wish with a win over a good team for the Dolphins, and I got my Christmas wish with a win over the Vikings and a division title that has been so elusive for the Detroit Lions. So, like I said, all in all, a pretty good Christmas. Can't really complain about anything.
Well, congratulations to your Lions on winning that division title. And what makes this podcast unique for the Keep Pounding Podcast Network is you never have people talking about their non-favorite team. Like, you're a Lions fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. Shannon, hoping he's doing well. He's a 49ers fan. He'll be back on the show. It's interesting because we have an unbiased part in it. And, people started seeing all the Cowboys gear in my background. And then for Christmas, I got a unique Christmas gift. I got a Panthers helmet. And what's cool about the Panthers helmet is it is signed by one of my favorite quarterbacks to ever play in college football for the Appalachian State Mountaineers, Armani Edwards. Armani Edwards obviously didn't play quarterback for the Panthers. He switched to wide receiver in the NFL. But this got me wondering, Ryan, because you love to bring up your South Carolina Gamecocks on the podcast every chance you get. You drop those and wrestling innuendos. So I wanted to give you a free pass today. And I want to know, who is your favorite Gamecock to ever play on the Carolina Panthers?
Man, that's such a loaded question. But when you ask me if I ever have an opportunity to drop some Gamecock or wrestling knowledge, my answer is always going to be yeah. But listen, I'd probably have to go with Travell Wharton. Travell Wharton was probably the longest tenured former Gamecock that played for the Carolina Panthers, one of the longest tenured offensive linemen to come out of South Carolina to play in the NFL. I mean, you've got some that had short tenures in Carolina, right? You had Stephon Gilmore for one season where he wasn't himself. Obviously, J.C. Horn currently on the roster. You had a couple of backup guys. Eric Norwood was on the team for a short period of time. He was the career sack leader at South Carolina when he was brought in, I believe, as an undrafted free agent into Charlotte. So, there are a lot of guys that have spent time as a Panther guy I went to high school with. tried out and was on the practice squad for a short time with the
Who is
Carolina
that?
Panthers. Of course, Garrett Chisholm. He was another offensive lineman from South Carolina. He was on the team that won the SEC East in 2010. Was undrafted free agent. Played for a short time with the Panthers. Did not. I believe. I'm not sure if he got cut in training camp, but at some point he walked away and he would do other things. But shout out Garrett Chisholm if he ever hears this. But yes, I mean, I'd have to throw it out to Travell Wharton. I mean, he was the longest tenured Carolina Panther, coming from South Carolina. So I'd have to stick with him.
Wow, that's really cool, and especially since you named Travell Wharton, because that Panthers helmet I got for Christmas not only had Armani Edwards, but it had Travell Wharton, Sherrod Martin, and Chris Gamble's signature on it. So that is going to be something that will be a part of the broadcast studio for the very foreseeable future.
There we go.
Uh, it's my first Panthers like memorabilia, and I do a Panther podcast, so it's pretty good.
Man,
And
I got jerseys upstairs. I got two mini helmets up there. Matter of fact, I used to have two Panthers mini helmets. I think I've only got one now. But come on now, like I grew up a Panthers fan. Like all my yearbook photos are me in my Jake Delhomme jersey. So, you gotta get some more Panthers memorabilia to rock here on the show.
hey, all the sports memorabilia I can take. No Eagles, no Redskins, no Giants, no UNC Tar Heels. You'll never
Yeah,
see me with any of those.
the more time goes by, the less I can stand the Philadelphia Eagles. Their fans are terrible. Their fan base is entitled. I mean, they boo Santa Claus. I watched a video a few weeks ago where these two fans were just minding their business, watching the game as an away fans, and they were pelted relentlessly by snowballs until they left the stadium. No security stepped in. You're seeing so many like fights break out. It's not like Bills Mafia where they're jumping through tables and in
It's fun.
pregame, pregame what am I tailgating. The Eagles are just nasty, nasty fan base. So you will never catch anything Eagles green anywhere around. Even with the WrestleMania being in Philadelphia this year, I thought maybe I could probably buy a Philadelphia Eagles colored WrestleMania jersey. And the more I think about it, the less I care. Like, no, I'm good. So all set. You can
Yeah,
keep it.
I think you'll be fine. Now, Ryan, you missed last week's show. Me and Shannon held the fort down, and I was very critical about the Panther fan base not showing up for their home game. But they did. There was more people in attendance this week. They probably heard about the good deals, but they did fall short to the Packers 33-30 at home. Uh, it was a high scoring Panthers game that we've had yet this year. I have some thoughts on it, but what did you make of all of a sudden this big explosion of offensive power from the Carolina Panthers?
Well, for starters, I want to touch on what you said about the fans not showing up the week prior. You had so much turmoil around the organization. You had David Tepper announced he was pulling the training camp from Spartanburg. You had a torrential downpour that was absolutely disgusting to be around that week. So I'm not surprised that you could buy a ticket for 45 cents on Ticketmaster and spend more money in gas and concessions going to the game. I don't blame the fans at all. If you're gonna make a point to the ownership that he needs to make a change, that he needs to do better, not showing up is example number one of showing that you're not going to deal with it, regardless of the weather conditions. Now, this past week, regarding the game, listen, I went on record on Tap House and Touchdowns to say that I thought the Panthers had an opportunity to knock off the Green Bay Packers. I don't think the Packers are as good as people make them out to be. I think what's the most surprising part about this is that Carolina put up 30 points and lost, because every other game this season they've held teams to season low outputs from a point standpoint. But you watch this game and the Packers go up. They go up big a couple times in this game. You're like, oh, here we go. Here's another typical Panthers offense that we're used to seeing all season long. but they kept fighting. We talked on previous shows about the fact that what did this team have to play for? What do the coaches have to coach for? That they already don't have a first round pick next year. They're all looking forward to having a new coaching job because we know David Tepper is going to go out and hire somebody else and probably restaff the whole team. So what does this team have to play for? But this team showed that they weren't going to go silent into the night. There's a little Christmas pun there on Christmas Eve, and they never stopped coming. I think Bryce Young had a career high in passing yards in this game. He was sacked less than his season average, 4 sacks. He was only sacked twice in this game. I don't believe he had an interception in this game. I could be wrong about that. But when you look at from the offensive side of the ball, you remember preseason, I said that you had some guys that were going to step up and be number one wide receivers outside of Adam Thielen. Thielen was going to be the slot, and we were going to have some guys step up. And one of those guys that I talked really heavy about was DJ Chark. And DJ Chark showed up like the guy that I expected him to be all season in this game. 6 catches, 98 yards, 2 scores. 2 scores in this game. And they needed it because what the Carolina Panthers have relied on all season, albeit in a lackluster showing, has been the run game. Miles Sanders, I think, had 3 carries in this game. Chuba Hubbard averaged under 4 yards a carry in this game. So they had to find some offense elsewhere, and they did. And unfortunately, if they had one more second, literally one more second, the Carolina Panthers might have forced overtime, and we don't know what would have come of this game. Shout out to the Carolina Panthers offense. The defense obviously has been playing well all season, did not have their best performance. But this offense finally, it looked like Bryce Young finally started to understand some of the game. You saw him kind of scramble out a few times to, get out of the pocket, which is something he needs to be able to do in order to find success, especially in his rookie season. It looked like he finally started to understand the game flow here in this game against the Packers. And who knows, maybe if the Panthers had had one more second left on the clock, who knows what could have happened. Shout out to the offense. Again, I don't think the Packers are as good as people expected them to be. There's a reason why they're, I believe, third in their division at this point in the season. And for all intents and purposes, it very well could have and should have lost to the Carolina Panthers when you go up by multiple scores in a game multiple times and you can't put a 2-win team away. I believe it says more about the fight in the 2-win team than maybe it does for the team that let them come back into the game. But I still think it goes to show that the Packers are not who everyone thought they were early in the season with Jordan Love and company. And the Panthers, for the first time all season, showed a fight that I had not seen from an offensive standpoint.
A few things you pointed out that I want to touch on is there were a lot of touchdowns scored, and the Carolina Panthers did fight back. At halftime, wasn't like, what was it was like 23-10 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, the game wasn't close early. I mean, it was like as you said, it was a 23-10 game at halftime. The Panthers scored 6 unanswered in the third quarter, and then for all intents and purposes, they win the fourth quarter 14-10. So
And Bryce Young
this game
almost got his third fourth quarter comeback.
Because they have led for exactly 0 seconds in the fourth quarter of a game this season.
And they've won 2 games, which has never happened before if you've never led in the fourth quarter. And we're about to have week 17. We'll talk about the Panthers and Jaguars game. But one of the things, I'm seeing improvement from Bryce Young. Okay, I've seen improvement from Bryce Young. He threw for his most yards this week with 312. You see on the bottom line. A couple receivers helped him out with that. I know you'd be happy about DJ Chark. You were big on him back in the offseason. You love that sign in for the Carolina Panthers. But there's one thing you can't do, and you have to understand clock management and where you're at on the game, where you're at in the field. You can't throw something in the middle to Adam Thielen, albeit a catch, and then expect to get up there in time to clock the ball. Like, that's a heartbreaking kind of loss if you're the Carolina Panthers. Yes, your season's over. Yes, you fought back, and there's positives you can take from this. But I think most importantly, people were like, why don't we sit Bryce Young and have Andy Dalton play behind this bad offensive line? I'm like, no, you need your number one overall pick out there for all 17 games. Peyton Manning was. Peyton Manning had a shaky rookie year because of the team around him. Trevor Lawrence, the same. These young guys need reps in the NFL and know what they're going up against. We're seeing improvement from Bryce Young, but he hasn't been in too many of these situations before. And I'm hoping that Bryce Young learns that he can't throw the ball in certain places when they don't have any timeouts and you have like 10 seconds on the clock.
I mean, to that point, first of all, I don't think we have seen improvement in Bryce Young until this game. I mean, this is the best game of Bryce Young's pro career. Every other game is averaging under 200 passing yards a game. He's
Not
taking
every
sacks that
game.
yeah. You want to go back and backtrack every game to look at his stats game by game, because I'll do it. I mean, we got the time, but
Pull,
most of the games he's played in this year, he's had under 200 passing yards.
for most of them. He's had a few. He had a stretch earlier in the year where he was getting above 200, but this is his first time with over
It's
300.
it's barely okay. So we go back and look at his stat line. Back in week 3 against the Vikings, he had 204, and then against the Lions, 247, 217 against the Dolphins, 235 against the Texans. But then he didn't throw for over 200 yards until last week. 173, 185, 123, 194. He Early in the year, he was barely throwing over 200 yards. So, I mean, yes, 167 passing yards is more than 137 passing yards that he had the week prior. So, week by week, we're not seeing that improvement. Again, we're looking at, I mean, you're looking at interceptions. He started off, really, really poorly with interceptions. 4 interceptions through 4 games. He had a 3 interception game against the Indianapolis Colts. So he hasn't been throwing a lot of interceptions, but he also hadn't thrown a touchdown since the Dallas Cowboys game 5 weeks prior. Again, he took 7 sacks in that Cowboys game, 4 sacks the next 3 games, 3 sacks against Atlanta, and then 2 sacks this game. So maybe he's avoiding those catastrophic sacks. I mean, you also look at third down conversions. They were still under 50% on third down. So they're still coming off the field probably sooner than they should. Now, in the week prior or 2 weeks prior, they went 1 for 7 on fourth down. They went 1 for 2 on fourth down this week. So they were able to extend one drive on fourth down. But saying that Bryce Young is improving is not really, you can't really say that he was improving until you see him this week. And we don't know yet if it was an anomaly or a product of the fact that the Packers defense is just that bad. When it comes to clock management, Adam Thielen got up and looked confused after he caught that pass. Again, 1, maybe 2 seconds more on that clock, we're not having this conversation. Yes, it's unfortunate that they didn't get that extra second to kick the game-tying field goal. But it's also unfortunate that the Green Bay Packers went down the field and kicked the field goal to take the lead. So I don't want to put that on Bryce Young's inexperience as to throwing it over the middle of the field, because most teams can throw it over the middle of the field, go down, clock it, get the field goal attempt off. Sure, maybe allude that to some inexperience by Bryce Young, but I don't put that on him. I put that on the coaching staff. Listen, talk to whoever catches this ball. Go down immediately. Give the ball to the referee. Bryce, you better get to that line of scrimmage. Everybody get set, because we need to kick this field goal. Nobody was ready. Not just Bryce Young. Veteran Adam Thielen got up looking confused, holding onto the ball. He wanted to make sure everybody knew that he secured it. I don't put that on Bryce Young. I put Bryce Young's performances the week prior to this game against the Packers on Bryce Young. I don't put the fact that they didn't get a field goal off to end this game on Bryce Young. I put that on the entire team and the coaching staff for not having them prepared for this kind of situation. But why would they need to be in this sort of situation? They haven't been in this kind of situation the entire year.
Again, it's a learning experience.
Of course it is. But I don't put it on Bryce Young.
I'm almost doing the Bryce had a great game, and it's a learning experience. Could have been better coaching, but throwing the ball in the middle of the field with no time left is on Bryce Young. You throw it to the sideline. Okay?
Plenty of
That
guys.
is where you throw the ball.
The
And weeks
defenses are
prior,
scheming against that, though. There's a reason why
teams can still
the
do
middle
it
of the
though.
field. There's a reason why the middle of the field was open because defenses know they're throwing at the sidelines to stop the clock. We're going to leave the middle of the field. The defense did their job. The Panthers offense didn't get back on the ball in time to get that last playoff. That's not an experience.
Are you telling me you
That's
can't like hit a toe drag swag to your guy DJ Chark on the sideline? You don't have that confidence in Bryce Young?
They were too far back. He needed to hit a pass over the middle to get him in field goal range in the first place, and he did. And the rest of the team just couldn't get to the line in time. Plenty of teams have thrown the ball across the middle to set up a field goal that just happen to have enough time to get down and spike the ball. It's happened for years in the NFL. It just didn't happen for the Panthers this week. 1 second was all they needed, and they didn't have it.
And they didn't have it.
They didn't have it.
And
That's all it was.
and that comes down to wins and losses. Hey,
It did.
I know Dallas, that playoff game where they threw it down the middle and didn't have enough time to spike the ball. Like, or honestly, the center, didn't let the referee touch the ball at the end of the game. Horrible way to lose. Horrible way to end your season. It's not a losing your season kind of loss for the Carolina Panthers, but
they lost their season in week 4.
let's be
when
honest.
they were 0-4 and not looking like a team that's going to win a game, that's when they lost their season, not this week. But I understand what you're saying.
But at least they have won both of their games at home. They're 2-5 at home. Grant, they are 0-8 on the road, but give Carolina the credit that they need is they have won their 2 games in front of Carolina Panther fans. And probably the 2 you probably need most for morale against the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud, and then against your division rival, the Atlanta Falcons. They didn't need this Packers win. But to hold Jordan Love
they did.
To 219 yards, and I mean, Grant, the run defense wasn't that great, but I'm more, accustomed to that Packer defense than you are because, they've only given up 30 points to division rivals, the Saints and the Panthers. That's it. They haven't given up as much points as they have. And to give it up to the Carolina offense with Bryce Young and that struggling offensive line and no run game, that's impressive.
Listen, first of all, saying the Panthers didn't need this win is I don't know the right word I want to use. It's silly. The Panthers need every win they can get at this point because every win that they don't get helps the Chicago Bears secure a higher draft pick. They need every win they can get to add.
It doesn't affect Carolina.
And sure it does. Because you've helped another team get exponentially better by getting the number 1 pick in the draft or trading that pick away in order to build a draft equity that you no longer have. So the more games that you win, the better opportunity another team in the conference, in the Chicago Bears, has to get better. Okay. You also need this win because there are a lot of players on this Panthers team that will not be back next season. They need the opportunities to go out and produce and to win games that they can take that on their resume to whatever job interview that they go to go get a job with another team, be it Brian Burns or whoever the case may be. The Panthers' run defense has been their saving grace. They've held a lot of teams to short yards per carry. I went on record to say that I told a guy last week, if you got Aaron Jones in your fantasy lineup this late in the season, you're in trouble because Aaron Jones is not going to do anything for you. And the only thing Aaron Jones didn't do this week was find the end zone. He averaged 6 yards per carry, 127 yards on the ground. So again, as a whole, the Panthers defense didn't show up like they've showed up the last month and a half of the season. But the offense did. And I don't know where that trade-off comes. Yes, it's impressive that they were able to put 30 points on the board. And any other game this season, 30 points would have been enough to win a game. Not this week. So, yeah, kudos But shame on their defense for giving up 127 yards on the ground, only getting to Jordan Love once, and then allowing 8 of 14 on third down. I mean, the Packers were able to extend drives the whole game. A guy that didn't have a whole lot of, really, really big weeks to talk about. And Romeo Dobbs went on and scored a touchdown. So, yeah, offense looked good. Defense didn't, which is the opposite of what we're talking about all year. But it's silly to say that Panthers didn't need this win. The Panthers need every win they can get, if for nothing more than morale boost for these players that are under contract for next year and beyond, for the development of young guys, and even Chuba Hubbard. I consider Chuba Hubbard a young guy. He didn't have a great game. Bryce Young needs all the reps he can get. This is the kind of game that can give a confidence to a quarterback in Bryce Young. And if he's able to lead this team to a win after being down so severely in multiple points in this game, that's going to do a lot for his confidence when the rest of the year he's just getting beat up on the entire season. So yeah, it's impressive what this offense was able to do after not being able to score a touchdown for the previous 4 games. So beating a dead horse at this point. The only thing they didn't do was get the ball off to kick a field goal at the end of the game and force overtime. But they did just about everything else that they needed to do to get this win.
The Panthers, like, their season's over. I get it. Like, yeah, you can, win, games to try to keep Chicago away from the number 1 pick. New England, might find a way to win a game, and, that scenario is ruined. But all you can do is control what you can control, get the players that you need playing time. And one of those is an opportunity this Sunday at 1 p.m. for the Carolina Panthers to travel to Jacksonville for their final road game. I just mentioned they haven't won a game on the road. I've went to Jacksonville for a Cowboys game. That crowd gets electric at times. But the Jaguars have struggled the last few weeks. Trevor Lawrence's health is a big question going into this game. What do you expect here in the last couple minutes of the Cat Cave? What do you expect from this game? The Jaguars are favored by 6.5 points.
I don't know how. The Jags have lost the last 4 straight games. You talk about the NFC South and what team is going to win this division with a losing record. The AFC South is no better. Every single team in the AFC South lost on Christmas weekend. We don't know who's going to win that division. The Colts could come up from behind and win this division. CJ Stroud could come back, and the Texans can win that division. The Jags can somehow get back on the right track and win this division. I mean, you talked about New England winning, possibly winning some games. I think New England goes out and beats Buffalo this weekend, if I'm going to be honest here.
Wow.
However, I honestly, call me a homer, call me crazy. I think the Panthers can go out and beat Jacksonville this week. And if the Panthers come out and play the way they did against the Green Bay Packers last week, and I'm not saying the Packers and the Jags have the same talent level or the same, are the same skill wise. I haven't gone through the research into doing to see what Jacksonville looks like from an offensive defensive standpoint. I know what I see when I watch their games, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just absolutely demolished the Jacksonville Jaguars this past weekend. Like, it wasn't pretty. And so a 6.5 point spread is big. Now, I know that the Panthers have not played well on the road. I know the Panthers haven't played well in general. But my hopes are that the Carolina Panthers figured something out against the Green Bay Packers. And not only do they cover the 6.5 spread, I think the Panthers could very easily get their first road win of 2023 this weekend. It would be 2023 because New Year's happens the day after. So, yeah, give me the Panthers in an upset here. They'll definitely cover the spread, and I'm going to take them to get the outright upset over the Jags. Again, as abysmal as the NFC South is, the AFC South is just as bad. And I think we get a Carolina Panthers upset special this weekend.
Well, that would be interesting. Now, a few things I do want to note about the Jaguars. They have lost 4 straight, but those games have been against Cincinnati, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Tampa Bay last week. Two of those games being on the road, but those are some tough defenses to play against. Again, we don't know the health of Trevor Lawrence, but they have CJ Beathard as the backup. And again, Carolina has not won yet on the road. I think that is huge. If you can't take your team on the road to win games, especially with a rookie quarterback, then it's going to be tough when you're playing against a team who's fighting for their playoff hopes. So, with that said, I think Jacksonville wins on New Year's Eve. I don't know if I like the 6.5. You know what? Give me Jacksonville by 8. Give me Jacksonville by 8.
You took Jacksonville last week and you lost on that one on over on tap outs and touchdowns too. So
okay,
maybe you're the Jaguars' kiss of death. No, stick to your pick. Maybe you're their kiss of death, and it's going to give Carolina a chance to win this weekend.
Well, hey, when I picked Carolina to win, they've lost, and when I've picked them to lose, well, they've still lost a lot of games. But maybe they'll win this week. We're out of time in the cat cave right now. Bully Rye, we don't have your ticker up, but where can people find you?
Yeah, make sure obviously you can go follow Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel to follow this page. You can find me on Twitter or X at Tapouts and TDs, Facebook.com/tapouts and touchdowns. Again, we go live every Wednesday to talk all things football. We'll be doing it again this week and next week. We are headed towards the NFL playoffs, as you know, and then the college football playoffs taking place on New Year's weekend this weekend as well. Make sure you go give a follow, a like, subscription over on the Tobacco Road on the Tap Outs and Touchdowns YouTube channel as well. But yeah, I appreciate you being back with me again. You kind of leading the charge this week, and I appreciate everybody for being here inside the Cat Cave this week.
Absolutely. Go watch Tap Outs and TDs. They have football episodes. They have wrestling episodes. I was on last week. Who knows who will be on this week? But until next week, exit the Cat Cave, but listen to more content by myself and Ryan on Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel and Carolina-centric podcast on the Keep Pine Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. We will see you next week.